I'm sitting at a place.
Well, hi, I'm Johan Hillebjörk, and I was the singer of Shield from Umeå in Sweden. These days I live in Malmö, which is in the south of Sweden, and I run my own company as a graphic designer, and this is my office and also my home. Will that do for an introduction?
Was it worth it?
So, okay, I'll tell you about the history of Shield. We started out in 1994 playing together. When I got into the band, it was because of the other four guys, which was Marcus, who played the guitar, Magnus, also guitar, Per, bass player, and Eric, drums. They asked me if I wanted to sing in a band, and I had played in a band earlier with Per, and I was very excited to play with him again and to be singing in a band because that's what I really wanted to do back then. So I started rehearsing with them, and just after a short while we had a gig at this, that was a small local place, and we called ourselves, the very first gig, I think the name of the band was Outside, but then until the second gig we changed the name of the band to Solitude, and one of our songs that we had, it was called Outside. And that song is actually the one that we recorded for the Swedish As Fxxk compilation, part 1. Then we recorded the song under the name Solitude. And we did record that song because I think Eric, who played the drums, he knew some of the guys who ran the first 5 records, like Dennis and Frosty, so we got to try out and record that song. And after we had done that, they wanted us to record a mini CD for Desperate Fight Records, and we did that. We recorded 5 songs, I think it was, and then we had to change the name of the band because there was already another band named Solitude. So we came up with the name Shield, and that's what we called the band from then until we quit playing. Anyhow, after the mini CD, we recorded this one song for the second part of the Swedish As Fxxk compilation, and it was called Kaleidoscope, the song. And I think that song is actually the best song that we did. And that song we did not re-record it for the album, which we recorded that summer after that. And the album was called Vampiresong. I don't know why we called it Vampiresong. I think there was this one song which I wrote the lyrics to that was called Vampiresong, and we had this some idea. I think it was some kind of a joke, really, that we should dress ourselves up as vampires on the cover and call the album Vampiresong. And after we had recorded, and after that album, we were gonna record another mini CD, but we just recorded some demos of it, and we were not that satisfied with the recordings, and then before we could re-record them, we actually split up. The band was no longer playing. We decided to play one last gig, and that was it. So those last few songs, they were never really released. I think the demo tapes disappeared somewhere, somehow, so they are not left either. So those last songs are really gone. And everything that we recorded was that first mini CD and the album, and also that one song from the compilation. Those two songs, the one for the first compilation and one for the second. Okay, the main influences of Shield. I remember Marcus, who wrote a lot of the songs. He really liked this band called Turning Point, so I think they were a main influence for our music. And also we started listening a lot to Outspoken, that he really liked. And there were other bands too, like Billingsgate and Stonetelling, that he liked a lot. And I know that those bands were main influences for him when writing music. And there was also this band called Lifetime, which we all liked very much. And for me personally, I would say during that time I was very much into this band called Into Another, which was Richie Birkenhead's band after Underdog, which was kind of a hard rock band or something, but I really liked the lyrics, and they were a huge inspiration for me when writing the lyrics, the Shield lyrics. And also I remember around that time that Dan O'Mahony had a band called 411 that was one of my favorite hardcore bands at the time. They only released one LP and a single, I think, but I listened to that a lot. And his way of singing and his voice, I think, is very beautiful. It's a huge inspiration to me.
You surrounded me all and my heart completely broken. The one that made happy as my heart terrified. I'm the snowman of the sunshine.
Yeah, so the Umeå hardcore scene in Sweden in '94, in the early '90s, it was a very nice thing to experience, being a young person in Umeå in those days. For me, it was like I started going to some gigs, and that was because I was a skateboarder. I rode skateboard, and my friends, they started going to like these punk and hardcore shows, and I went to one of those I think it was in '92 or something. I went to my first show, and in those days there were like a lot of different bands playing the scene. That was one of the nice things, one of the best things about the scene, that there was like one death metal band and one hardcore band and some kind of indie pop band playing at the same show, and they were all a part of this alternative music scene, and that was something that I really liked. And then after we had started our own band and we were a part of that scene, it was kind of right about around that time when the hardcore scene in Umeå really expanded, and there were a lot of more people coming to the shows and a lot of more bands playing, and it was very nice growing up in that environment in many ways. Just being able to play music and having gigs and people coming to your shows and listening to your music, it was really gratifying in many ways. But I think for me, the best part about it was the straight edge thing for me, because I was I don't know, a lot of people that I hung out with, they started drinking really early, and I was kind of a coward. I didn't want to start drinking or smoking and everything, but with straight edge I could still be like a cool guy and hang with the cool kids even though I didn't want to drink or smoke or take drugs or anything. So for me that was one of the best things about the scene in those days. Towards the end of playing with Shield, I think I stopped going to shows sometime around there, because I had always listened to lots of other kinds of music except for hardcore music, and for me, I think the scene kind of musically stagnated, and it was not quite as interesting after a while. And I started to listen to other kinds of music, and then I moved from Umeå in 2001. So after that, I don't know that much about the scene. I've tried to listen to some of the bands that have come out of Umeå.
Don't let it slow. When it never showing, it's my love of a goodbye kiss to another puff in the road.
So, well, I don't have that much knowledge about the scene today, but still, I go to shows here in Malmö, where I live now, and I hear some of the bands in my old hometown, and I hear some bands worldwide. And one of the things that I thought was that maybe musically the scene would have evolved more. Like there are a lot of bands playing exactly the same thing now that people did like 20 years ago. I mean, that's kind of interesting too, to redo things, but still I would have expected the scene to open up more and allow more influences from all over the world to affect hardcore music and the way it is played, because that was one of the problems that I had back when we were playing music also, that people were not really interested in music. They were interested in the attitude and the things surrounding the scene, and they were not really interested in music and how it sounded and how to evolve musically. So I'm not really disappointed in the scene nowadays. I can't say that I am, but I would have expected it to evolve. Oh, a reunion for Shield. I don't think so. I think for me it was at least the things that we did was a thing of the past, and we were young. We were just kids. It's kind of a long time since we played together, and I don't think we could do the same thing now, and where so much has happened in our lives, and we're totally different people, and so I don't think it will actually happen anytime.
I am a dreadful monster, creeping, falling, nothing, torturing, to tell me the sweetest love. One way your soul, tell me again.
So yes, I mean every song has. I wrote the lyrics of all the Shield songs except for one or two, or maybe it was 3 songs, I don't know, but anyhow, there are, I think most of the songs, the lyrics were about really becoming like going from being a child to being something of a grown-up, a teenager or something, and seeing the world with new eyes, and all of the things that you saw, they weren't that, they kind of wasn't that, all of this new world that you saw growing up, it was not it was not such a nice world that you had expected it to be when you were a child. And I think that's mainly about all of the songs in Shield. I think for me, during that time when I wrote the lyrics, it was a very turbulent time, and I was very emotional and very confused about a lot of things, and seeing a lot of things in the world that I thought was horrible things happening, and people being a part of those horrible things, and me being a part of those horrible things, and that's what I tried to process, I think, when growing up, being a teenager myself. I've heard somebody mentioning like Lion City hardcore sometime, but I haven't heard any bands. There was this one band that someone mentioned sometime. I don't remember what was the name of the band. It was this band I think in the early 90s. They played this like it was very much like New York hardcore style music. A lot of the bands that I heard back then, but I don't remember the name of those bands. And the only bands that I heard from Singapore, I think, is there was this black metal band that I really liked called Rudra or something. Rudra, I think they were called, that I liked. And in recent days there was this band, also more like a grindcore band called Werent, I think, that I liked a lot. But that's kind of not a type of music, but those are the Singapore bands that I've heard and I've liked. So yes, last shout out and thanks to you for making the interview. It was nice time, and One Voice crew. And also I would like to take a special thank you to Desperate Fight Records for releasing our records and working with us back when we made our music, and all the people that put on shows and let us play. It was really a good time. And I also would like to thank my father and my family, especially my father, who had a huge part in our band playing. He was driving us around in a band when we were touring and everything. And my little brother for coming to shows. I mean, he was just like a very young kid. He was like 7 years old or something when we played, and he came to our shows, and he was a huge support. And of course my sister and my mother too. Yeah, that's it.